Hi everyone, it's Deb from Project Life Deb's Way. Thank you for tuning in again for this video. I've got a challenge for all of you this time. It's make your own kit, and is to try and get people to use all your stash that you have left over from all your bits and bobs from when you were doing things. For this one, I had made some cards from a card kit that I'd bought, and it used Lemoncraft House of Roses. So of course I had quite a bit of paper and things left over, so I decided to use that for my Project Life layout. So all you have to do is just go through. As you can tell, I have a lot of stuff left over from kits and things. So just go through your stash and find something that really takes your fancy. And then from then, just build your kit, which I will actually show you how I put my things together as this video progresses. Just make sure that when you do your papers, if you have like a good floral paper, just get some, what I call, if you've seen my videos before, some spludgy papers that have the same tonings that you have with your pictures and things. And then I normally like to have either a spot or a stripe or some wood grain or something with a bit of texture to actually bolster all of your papers. But as I said, I will actually show you how I chose like my washi tapes and all of the other stuff I put together to make a Project Life kit that I can use from all my stash behind me and on the side here. Now, I had great fun choosing my own stuff, because it really did give me satisfaction of actually being able to having something that hasn't cost me anything to be able to do a layout. Now in this video I'll take you through step by step on how I cut my cards, how I layer my cards. In this one I do some stenciling. I also make a flat card as well. But first, before we go on and make our cards and do our layouts with the techniques, I'll just show you a finished shot of the layout that I have completed to do this video. So I have got the texture paste that I have used on a strip card, which I have cut into pieces and used throughout the layout just to give it a little bit more oomph, because I didn't have the correct sort of floral paper that I wanted, so I just made my own, thinking outside the box. I also have done a flap card, which as you can tell would have carried a photograph, but I decided I needed more journaling spots for this particular year, so I've just popped it underneath so that people don't need to look at my journaling. So with no further ado, let's get on with our scrapping and making our layout. Hi everybody. For this layout I decided to do a video on scrap your stash. So this is just odd papers that I've had left lying around. I have got here some of Lemoncraft House of Roses papers left over from making some cards, which I thought was rather pretty. And then I found a piece of paper here from Stamperia, which had some florals. I also had a 49 market, but I liked the green that this tonings had. So they're the papers, but because of this was oddments, I do always like either a spot or a check or something like that that has something different to florals. So I've added a bit of a spot here, and I also found some wood grain paper, which the tonings still go with everything. I also found in my leftover, I had a few butterflies, a few tags left over from making of the cards and everything. So I've also, out of my stash, took out some tags and things and a few words. I decided with this to put them edged with white, so I've gone through and I've cut my 6x4 cards for all my placemats, and I've done my photo mats, which I have done, some of them are 3x4 and some of them are 3¼ by 4, so I've just got a couple of bigger ones for full photographs on there. And I will be using this nice sort of greeny tone paper because it just blends in with all the papers that I'm using. For my inks, I have got a greeny coloured ink and a brown, and I've decided I'm going to do some stenciling. So I found a really nice little stencil here with flowers, which I thought was very, very nice. And I'll be using just some ordinary texture paste with this time. I may use some of my favourite liquid pearls as well, and I also have got some diamantes to add to that. So they're the things I've used to do this lot of layouts, so we'll just have a bit of a play and see what we can come up with. Now for our first card, I have got my 6x4, and then I have just taken off 1/4 inch down this side and 1/4 inch off of that, which gives me an 1/8 inch border. Now I've edged my card like this with my brown to just give it a bit of an edge, and I'm using a sort of a damask paper, so we'll just pop that on. So all of the cards with this series is going to have that tiny little border all the way around. I have then decided to put a strip of this polka dot, but I have actually outlined it with the green to give it a bit of an edge. And this would be a 2-inch strip by 6 inches. So we're just going to lay that down, not center, but just slightly off center. Now I've cut a piece of this green card, which I want to sit just here off to one side, because this is going to be our eye candy card at the top. So this card I have cut just under 4 1/4 by 3 3/4. Okay, so now I've decided to put a piece of this here, and always make sure when you're doing anything with stripes you work it all the way through that it runs landscape, otherwise it does look a bit odd. So this is going to fit just inside this little square here to here. But I'm going to use, what I'm going to do with this, with my texture paste, I'm going to use it on the other side of the page so that you've got some cards using this technique. And this is what I prepared earlier, is what it's going to turn out like. So what I've done with that, now what I do now is I get my little stencil and I actually put it to where I would like it. and then I tape it down so that it doesn't move. I find this is the easiest way of getting it so that, there we go. Now we'll just open up my texture paste, and I have a spatula here. Now the texture paste I'm using is just a texture paste that I happen to pick up somewhere. It's no specific brand. There's lots of different brands that you can buy, or if you haven't got texture paste, you can use some gesso. But I love this particular one done by Frenchville. It's very, very smooth and creamy. So then what I do is I make sure that my stencil is nice and flat, and just pop and just pop. I don't put very much on, and just work through your stencil, scraping off the excess. Okay, there we go. Then you can start from the top, take your tape off, and pull the stencil away, and there you have your really nice stencil. So then you'll just go and clean up your stencil and everything else, and then I'll come back to the next stage. Okay, so now it's all dry. So what I did is I've just got some water markers, but you could use paint, anything like that. And what I did is I just went quickly around the flowers in the center. Just like that. And then I got a brush, just sprayed a bit of paint, water on there, and then I just went over the texture because it will just blend. Just quickly go over, and that will just blend out the colour a little bit. As I said, if you've got paints or anything else, you can do exactly the same. Then I got a darker pink, which I just did the centres. Like so, and then once again I just quickly went over each one of those. And there we have there we are. And as I said, it gives you just a nice detail and it just looks like some flocking. So what we will do now is I will cut the piece that I like, and then this little bit we can use later. So there we go. Now I've stuck that down and I've popped the other one that we made, because you will need to make 2 of these for both sides of the layout, so we'll use that later. So I've just stuck this one down. I found some of the butterflies that were left over from my cards. I'll pop one of those on there. I've got some white old-fashioned roses, but you could use pink roses or anything that you had to hand that was sort of matching, and I'm going to pop that down into the bottom. But as you can tell, it is a bit flat, so I decided to find a wooden button there, and I've put a bit of pink washi tape so it sort of shows up pink, that says live, and then painted the rest black, which I'm going to put just here to give it a bit of pop. And then I decided it was looking very flat here, so I've decided on using some clocks in this. So I have what I call my clock box, where I put all my spare clocks and things that I've had left over from kits. I've also got my layouts and things. So we could use a nice gold clock. Or I might even use now, I think I might use my die cut here. And then I'm going to chop the little bud off, like so. And I'm going to put the live over the top here. And I will pop the bud just below, like so. So there we have our finished card for you. So I'll go down and I'll stick everything down. I normally with butterflies only do the body, so they sort of can free float a bit. Now we'll just put a little bit of glue on here. The reason why I decided to use this particular clock, and you could, if you wanted to, I found, make sure your clocks are always facing the right way with the 12 at the top. And then we'll just stick this spare bud underneath. And then I'll put my live button. This is why it's really good having all your spare clocks and things. I just tend to keep them in boxes in things that I use an awful lot. And any kits I have clocks left over, I just get a circle punch and just cut them to correct size. And I also have ended up with quite a few kits where I have actually printed up from kits from PNG files, and I've just put them onto an A4 sheet on matte photographic paper, and then you can just cut them out, and then you've always got them for later. And once you have bought your digital kit, you've got those for life, so you're not forever buying clocks and things. These next cards, I'll do them both together, and they're the cards that sit on the bottom like so. And what I've done here, I've just done my spotty card. And always remember, normally if you're doing a side-by-side layout, if you cut one of these cards, always cut a corresponding one for the other side of your layout, because it just evens things up, and it just makes it a little bit easier for you to work out what cards to use. So on my left hand side, I have got one of these cards in a portrait orientation. So we are just going to put this on like so, and remember I took 1/8 of an inch and 1/8 of an inch off both sides to give your card 5, and as you can tell the 6 is just a smidgen off. So then what I did is I cut this little bit of a card, remembering to always have your wood grain running the same way no matter which orientation your cards have. And this is just over 2 3/4, just over 3 1/2. And the reason being is I wanted it to fit onto this card with just a tiny little border. And I've edged this in brown, whereas all the spot pieces I've always edged in the green, just to give you a bit of contrast. So that is going to sit like so. I then wanted my photo card, which is a 4 1/4 by a 3 1/4, so that a true photograph will fit on this, into this corner, leaving your little margins there. So we'll stick this one down. Like so. Now what we will do now is build up some of our bits and things that I wanted. So this time, because I've got the pink florals, I decided on a pink butterfly, which I'm going to slant slightly up in the top hand corner. I've got another clock which I have edged. Now when you're edging these clocks, if you want a real dark edge, put your colour straight, and that way you'll get quite a good crisp edge, whereas if you do it slanting, you will actually get a softer smudge. But I want a really crisp smudge, so make sure that we've got the 12 o'clock at the top. I'm going to just pop that underneath. Like so. I've got a piece of tape under there, and I'll just hook that off and stick it down. Now with our florals, I have got here little briar rose, which I'm just going to slant over the top of my photograph like so, just to give it an edge. like so. And then I've got a larger one I'm going to just put underneath. Like so. So to do that, I will get my glue. I don't tend to use liquid glue for large areas of paper, but for smaller things I find it quite handy. And this glue remains movable for a little while, so it's quite good for positioning things. And I have edged these flowers in brown. Now, I don't want these flowers sticking onto my photograph, and I think I did glue them. Yes, I did. So I will get a baby wipe and just make sure that I haven't got any glue on those bits that lie over the photo mat. Otherwise we won't be able to get our photographs in there. So I'll reattach them like so. And I will just put a couple of pieces of that tape that you get off of your tape runner in there while it dries, so they don't stick to that photo mat. Now I'll just attach my butterfly. Onto my card. Now the other card is very, very easy to do. All we have got is our 6x4, and then I have cut the green coloured card here, which of course I want to edge. And this time I will slant so that you just get a lovely little soft edge. Like so. Now we're going to stick that one down, and once again that's just got 1/8 of an inch cut off two sides. So we can stick that down, and then I decided on this particular layout to just add a large photo mat, which ends up with 1/4 of an inch off of two sides. I'm fairly sure. Yep, 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. So if you have a 6x4 photograph, you need to just trim that down just a fraction to just fit into your card. So there we have our side by side two cards. We'll get on with our 3x4 set of cards, which there is 4 that goes above these two cards. Now here's our 4 cards here. So I have got 2 photograph cards and 2 filler cards. And I have just done a little bit of the green card, and the 3x4 photo mat I have just taken off once again 1/8 of an inch off of both sides to give me my small border for my photo mat. And with this one I have got my 3x4 white, I have just taken off 1/8 of an inch off of this one, making sure that my wood grain goes the right way. And then I have done a small photo mat, which I have taken a 3x4. I have taken off 1/4 of an inch off of the top and off of the side. And then that will fit right in the middle. And then your photograph will fit into there. So they're 2 easy cards to do. The next card, I have just cut some of the tiny spot paper, sort of in a pinky tone, which I have just chopped off once again, that 1/8 of an inch, and I've edged it in the brown ink. Now, what I decided to do with this one, I had just a tiny bit of this card left. So I've decided I'm going to match that up on the side here, making sure my print matches. Because I only had a little bit of this card, I thought I'd use it. And I've edged this all in brown. Now I'm going to have a tag, so you won't really notice the join. And with this tag, it was a bit too much with the roses on the side here. So I've just got a bit of the Euphoria from House of Roses by Stampera. I had a little one left. So I am going to just pop that right in the middle of that tag. Then I'm going to attach that tag to my card. Slightly on the slant. And I've really edged that very darkly in brown so that you actually get your colour difference. And then I'm going to get a little bit of foam tape and tape that flower there. And I'm going to put a tiny little butterfly, because these butterflies came in all the different sizes, and I've got a piece of glue on my lid, so I use that up. I'm going to slant that like so. Now I'll get my foam tape to raise this up so it just sits on top of that tag. And I've edged that in brown as well. Now I'm putting this down the bottom, as you can tell here, so that when I butt up, the foam tape sits here so that your flower actually sits on the top of your card. And there we have that card, and as you can tell, you cannot see where I've joined that extra piece of paper on there. Our next card has just got one of the tags that I had left over from making cards. You could have a postcard, you could have all sorts of cards that you can use. I've just edged it in the brown. And this worked out, it was just a little bit smaller than the 3x4, so it worked in brilliantly with my surrounding. Now, because this has got a rose here, I've decided to pop one of the clocks in like so, just over the top of that flower, and just pop a little rose in the bottom like so. So I'm going to set the clock flat. Making sure my 12 is at the top. And then I'm going to get my foam tape. Like so. Trim off the excess. I might also trim that off. Oh, and then I have a tiny little butterfly. And that sort of goes in a line, so I'm going to carry on that line over and above. So these cards will work like this. So we have our 4 cards, the one down the bottom, the other one which now I can take those out. We have our eye candy card, and we have our other photograph. Oh, and I also am going to put some wording. Now I may change that across like so. We've got in here moment in time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edge that really heavily, going straight down and not smudging acrosswards. I'm just going to pop Now this is just the lettering I did on my laser printer, and then pop some gold foil on it. There we have moment in time with some words. So there is our first left hand side of our 12 by 12 layout. I decided on the left hand side to do a flat card, so I will actually run you through the cutting of this. Here I've decided I've got my 6 by 4, and this one just has 1/4 of an inch off both sides, which gives me an 1/8 of an inch border all the way around, which I've edged in brown. I decided the little pattern here so that when I put my flap over, it has this little bit showing just here. So this one here will have the photo mat, which is a 4 1/4 by 3 1/4, so you can definitely fit a 3 by 4 photograph on that. And I have just cut a slightly larger, which is 3 1/2 by 4 1/2, so it just has that little, once again, 1/8 of an inch. So we will attach that onto the backing mat. So just line it all up like so. We will attach this card to the 6x4. And this is something you shouldn't do, is attach. It just shows that things happen on camera. Now, we are going to attach this down. And then we will attach our photo mat underneath the flap. So just pop that in the middle. Like so. So there's our base card finished. And how easy was that? If you didn't want to do a flap card, you could just do a plain card like this and put a little saying here. Now here is the flap. Now I have cut this flap just under the 4 inches so that it measures exactly the same as the card that was here. So you've still got your white edge flowing around your card. So I have made that to the length that it will cover my little photograph over, which it doesn't. So what I'll do there to correct that is just lift that up a fraction. Just test that out. So we just hook that over the top. And there we go. There we have it there. So to do this card, I just use one with a bit of a floral here, and I got one of the tags that I had left over, which I'm just going to pop up into the top corner like so. Now I've edged these all in brown. So we'll just pop that up in the top corner, like so. You could, if you wanted to, braise this up, which I think we might actually do to give it a bit of body. So I'll just get some of my foam tape, cut a couple of thin strips. The difference with this kit, I'm only making one of these. So normally what I do is I do a trial one first to see what's going on, to make it easier for when I do the second one. But this one is I'm making as we go along. So you'll have to bear with me if I change things. So we'll just raise that up. There we go. Now, because I aren't using the yellow butterflies, I have cut from, I am very lazy, I have a laser printer, which I've just printed out some A4 sheets with writing and things like that. I've put my gold foil on the top and popped it through the laminator, so I've actually got these to work off of. So I have just cut a little memories, and I'm going to put that over the top of that butterfly to hide that butterfly. Now I've just inked it so it just pops out. Now with the butterfly, because we've raised this, I'm going to put this up the top here, not off the page, because this will not be in the plastic folder, so it will get quite a lot of wear and tear. So I'm going to make sure that this is very well glued down so that it can take the punishment that is required. Now I will get a pen and just draw my little antlers on my fold page. Now, underneath the fold page, of course, you have a blank piece. So I have cut from that floral sheet here. I've just cut a bit with some of the edging, and I've made sure that there is a tiny little border all the way around. And as you can see, it isn't quite, so I'll chop a little bit off here and then edge it. Okay, so let's stick this one down. Like so. Then I cut just a 2-inch strip of the green, the same width as the card here, to pop, not center, but just down a little bit in the greeny tone I had. And I've edged that with the green ink. We'll pop this down the bottom. Now, from that laser sheet that I've done, I did a lot of, I bought these as a digital set, so I can run them off anytime I want. I can make them what size I want. And it works out really well sometimes by buying digital kits. I think it cost me about $2, and there was about 7 or 8 different ones with different words, and I've used them so many times now, and as I said, it's fantastic with the laser printer. So I'm just going to pop that up into the top corner, and I'm just going to pop a flower, which and remember once again to make sure that everything on these flaps are really attached well, because they do take the handling. So we'll stick this down, and I've edged this in brown as well, and just pop that on like so. So now we have our flap card, which we will just pop on the top of our card. And to do that, fold your card over and get it leveled. And this is a great way of having an eye candy card, but also having some photographs. So then lay it down, take your tape and fold over. And there you have a great card. Now, as you can tell, I haven't stuck that very square. And the great thing about Express It tape, a little hint, is it is movable when you first stick it down. But you will find by tomorrow, if I tried to take that off, I wouldn't be able to move it. Now, I have made a mistake here. This one here is upside down because of the flap. So we will correct that error and stick it the right way. And there we have our flap card finished. And as you can tell, with me not doing a pre-made one, I'm having to do this on the fly, and it just shows that I do make mistakes as well. So there we have our beautiful flap, which will sit in the top of the page in the folder with this piece over the top. Now where I've ripped that off, the glue isn't sticking very well, so I am going to glue that down with a bit of glue. So there we go. On to our next cards. For this card, this is the corner card that we will be doing for the top. So all I have done is I've cut some of the corresponding card that matches this card here, if you can see. So you have one card on the left hand side and one card on your right hand side. It just looks better when you do your layout because you have sort of corresponding paper on both sides. And as I said, it does make it easier when you're constructing your cards. Now this one, once again, I've just taken 1/8 of an inch off of two sides to give me my border. And if you remember, we made this paper. I've used every last bit of this paper. So what I'm going to do is I've cut it so that it just has the 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. And this is just a bit that was left over. So I hated to waste it. So I've decided to pop a little bit extra on some card. And as you can see, I haven't got any down here. So that's going to go down the bottom. Now this wouldn't matter what size this was. You could actually, if you had more, you could bring it down further. Now I have got a 4x3 photo mat here, so I've just cut a card that just is slightly larger to give me my photo mat, and I'm going to stick that down the bottom of the card, down the bottom. Once again, leaving a little border at the bottom, and then just pop your photo mat on the top of that. And this will just frame your photograph. So when you actually put your photographs on here, as you will see in the last shot that I do, it will just frame all of your photographs. So as you can tell, one side has this card here, and on the left hand side we have this card, which keeps your theme going. Now with this one, because I've got a little spot there, I'm going to stick my little butterfly in the center, and there we have that card finished and corresponding to the other side. This one is in for the bottom corner, and once again I have got the spot card which is on the right hand side, so I've also got a spot card for the other side. So I have just edged that in the green exactly the same. Taken 1/8 of an inch off both sides to give my border. I have got my wood grain, which I want for the bottom here. like so. And once again, I have made sure that all my wood grain is running acrossways for my whole layout. Make sure that you give your borders the same amount all the way around. I have just done my 3x4 photo mat, which once again I've just edged in the green card. As you know, I really do like layering my photo mats and things. You don't have to if you don't want to. And there we have that. Now this one is going to go up the top of the page this time. So I just lay that onto the spot, maybe just show a spot at the top, like so. And I have got one of my words called memories, which I'm going to just put into here. Now the reason why I put it here is because with that line, it just gives it a little of a box to work with. I'm going to put my little rows here, making sure I only stick down, not where my photograph will be, so that you can slide your photograph underneath, which will give you a layered look. So your photograph can still fit underneath. Now I'm going to trim that leaf off. Like so. Now I've got a little butterfly here, which I think I will pop just down in the bottom here. So I'm just going to put a little bit of tape there. And all of my elements have been edged in the brown, like so. So there we have, once again, two coordinating cards, but completely different for side by side, but it does give you that continuation of colour through your layout. With this one, I only had a tiny bit of this card left with the briar roses on, and if you remember rightly, it was from a 6x6 paper pad, and I said I had a little tiny bit left. Well, this was over this side here from the 6x6 pad, which is why I only had that tiny strip left, which, as you can tell, you can't see, so I actually used that on one of my small cards. I also had a tiny strip of the card that we decorated, so I thought I could actually put a strip in here to do. So what I've done here, I've just edged my card in brown. I'm going to stick that down, and the reason why it has to go this way is because the writing is this way, and that's the one thing I hate, is upside down writing on my layouts. Now I've got a 3x4 photo mat here. Now if you'd preferred to do a 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 photo mat, you can do that too and just adjust the layout. But I wanted this up in my top hand corner. So we're going to stick that up into the top hand corner. Just leave a very small edge so that you can see your nice briar roses here. And then I have some more cutouts here, which I'm just going to brown off, because by edging these, if you leave any white bits, they don't notice up as much. And with this one, I had to leave quite a bit of white on because I couldn't get my scissors in there. So we'll just sort of mask it to a certain degree. There we go. So this piece here, I'm going to put halfway up so it evens everything off. And I've edged this in brown, and it goes the full width of the card. Sort of like a washi, you would use a washi tape. It just adds to the decoration. Now with this, I'm going to pop this on the side like this. And for that, I'm going to use some glue because I can then shift it around to where I want it. Making sure any bits that go on the photo mat are not glued. Which I've done again. So I'll wipe that piece of glue off. Now we're just going to swivel this until it looks right. So then we have that piece. Now what I decided to do here, I liked Perfect Day, but it didn't show up. So what I've decided to do with this is I will edge it. So if you couldn't do gold foiling, you could actually just get your fonts and play with your fonts and do this in black and have it in black. It would look just as good. Now I'm going to stick that now to make it pop. I've cut some pieces of card here, like so, to make that letter pop up. So I'm just going to trim them down to make them all even. And I am going to put them on a little bit of foam tape to make them stand out even more. And as you can see now, they actually show up, whereas before they were just muting in. And there we have our next card. All we have to do now is just trim off the excess, and that card is finished. Now we're coming to the end of our layout. We're going to do our 4 3x4 cards landscape. So I have done exactly the same as what I did on the other side. I've done a photo mat with 1/8 of an inch off both sides on the green card. I have also done the wood grain on the 3x4 card with just the photo mat, which has had 1/4 of an inch taken off the 3x4 on both sides to give us our little photo mat, so they actually match to what's on the other layout. Now this card here, I have used the piece of paper that we actually made, and I've edged it in brown. And all I'm going to do with this is pop it onto my card, which I've taken off. I cut that 3x4 and took off 1/8 of an inch both sides, so that it fits onto this sheet like so. I've just got a flower which I'm going to put just in the bottom, and I am going to put some dimensional tape on this to bring it up. So just put some of your tape on there. And we quickly stick this down. And I'm putting it in this corner because there wasn't much in this corner. So I've sort of covered that up with a bit of the roses. And I will also put dimensional tape onto my butterfly. Which I will just stick up into the top hand corner. So there is that card finished there, quite nice and easy. It didn't need much because it was quite decorated as it was. My last card, I actually used the spot so that it would actually match up with this card here that has some of the spots. So I'm going to attach that onto my 3x4, and once again I have just taken 1/8 of an inch off of my card I'm sticking down on both sides to give me that little border, like so. I've added the spot card the full way across this card to just give it a little bit more body. It looked a bit plain, and I thought if I put the spot, it introduces that coloration throughout the layout. So there is my foundation card that I can build on. Now I found one of the little tags here, which I am going here, and I cut it a little bit shorter so that it would fit onto the landscape card, and I've made it very dark around the edges so that it physically shows up. Now with this one, I'm going to do some layering underneath it. So I've put my tape on, but I'm only going to attach it on one side to start with, because I need to tuck things underneath. Now I found a piece of this clock, and I wanted this on the left hand side because I have a clock on my right hand side, just to measure things up. Now this one, unfortunately, I'm going to have to do the times wrong because of, oh no. So I'm going to put, if you've noticed, I've cut this round the wrong way. The 1's there and the 12 is there. So I'm just going to have to hope people don't sort of notice and just whack it in. I'll have to break my own rule for this one. It was just an odd piece that I found lying in. So I'm just going to put it up there. And then I am going to do my other clock over the bit that's like so. And then I have this little clock here. And I'm going to put my butterfly on the top of that clock. And I will get some of the green cardstock, and I will just, this is how I tend to do my wording. I cheat a little bit. I get my green, I then pop my wording on there. And I think with this particular one, I'm going to split that word. That looks better. So then on dimensional tape, I will raise those words up. And it also hides the error that was made with that clock. And I don't like that. I'm going to pop that underneath like so. That looks better. As I said, you have to bear with me as I play around with these, because as I said, I normally make a second card, and I didn't this time. there we have our cards finished. So I will just pop them as I think they need to be. And of course there is the flap, which I moved and put different words on this time, and there is your flap card there that goes in with your layout. Thanks everyone for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this challenge just as much as what I did doing this layout. Using all your scraps and bits and bobs, it's a really good feeling that you're actually sort of using some of your stuff that's been left over. I hope you pop over to my channel. I've got plenty of other videos that I have there with all different other techniques. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, because you will get informed when I put new videos and things up. I do try to get at least one video a month, maybe two, depending on what my schedule is for the month. So until next time, I'll say bye for now from Deb from Project Life's Way. So keep well and keep scrapping. Bye.